Hey guys, it's Kiki. I am finally back on my own podcast. I took a little segue and was focusing my efforts on other things, but I'm so happy to be back in this space. And I did change the name of the podcast too from Shaman Essence Reiki to Spiritual AF. It definitely suits it better just because it's all things spiritual. It's all things part of the ascension story that we're all experiencing right now. But it's all about being a fucking badass while you do it. And no topic is really too taboo for me to talk about. I've gone down pretty much every rabbit hole you can imagine. And so that's why I'm so stoked to have my girlfriend Celeste on the show today. And it doesn't even feel like it's my show when the two of us are talking, just because it's like we just take over. This is our show. Celeste is back and she's joining us from Costa Rica, where she lives, and she's gone down just about every rabbit hole as well. And I think she's probably the only human on earth that I can totally and completely, there's nothing that I talk about that she doesn't already know about. There's nothing that she's not like, yep, 100%.
Yeah,
So,
nothing's off the table.
welcome, Celeste.
Hello. I love the new name, by the way. I do love the new name, and I think it represents exactly who you are, especially in this moment, because it's the fucking truth.
Yeah. We're talking about Lightworkers and just like what we're all experiencing right now. And it's weird because I think across the board, people are feeling like they're going a little crazy because they're seeing two realities and two diverging timelines happening at the same time. And it's like the old world crumbling all around them, corruption and everything coming to light. And then trusting in a new earth or new reality or whatever you want to call it, and not having seen the evidence of that yet, but knowing that you're creating it, that you can't stop creating it, that there's like a higher vocation working through you. But like hopscotching between these two realities has a lot of people going a little crazy lately. And we were just talking about that. So like, you want to touch on that, Celeste?
Yeah, well, I think you're kind of just summarizing the feeling that I'm getting from most of the people that I'm in touch with as well, which is, okay, like you and I, we talk New Earth. It's where we focus most of our thoughts and our intentions is in creating the new. But someone said to me, and kudos just for the comment, is I'm all for the New Earth, but we still have to deal with our current reality. And that's the truth. And the current reality, because even though the New Earth is on its way and it is coming and we are creating it, again, why I think the Lightworkers right now, and we'll talk about that, and why that right now I think sometimes in a way there's a challenge right now for us to feel in our light all the time. So how do we navigate the darkness that is happening and going to be happening until we get to the place that we stay in a place of new earth frequency, right? There's been a shift, there's going to be a bigger shift. And how do we navigate that right now? Because I think it's been a lot for everybody. And then with the new things that have come down, like I also feel like, I don't know about you, but summer was like, it was like time stood still. I felt like I was in a weird vortex. I felt like nothing moved forward. I felt like, honestly, someone had just put me into this weird little vortex and I just stayed there and nothing happened. And then September hit and I honestly have blinked and it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's like time has completely just like, and with it has also been the world doing things. So the UN treaty has got a lot of people stirring up. Bill C-293 in Canada has brought up a lot of fear, completely valid. And then with all this P. Diddy stuff, is that just a big distraction from taking away from the global events? And how do we navigate going through all that and trying to stay in a high frequency for what we want to see while we also live in this world that needs to crumble, and we're watching it crumble around us?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all stuff that we said as conspiracy theorists said would happen, right? We said all of this would happen. And in some ways, it's like a lot's coming up. And in other ways, if you've gone really down the rabbit hole, you're like, this is just barely scratching the surface to how evil and nefarious these agendas are and what they actually have planned for humanity towards, 2030. But I also see people like just waking up at a rate that they never have before. I don't think that they're going to succeed. And when I've tuned into the visions for the collective, I really do see things shifting at like 2027. Something big is going to happen, and I don't like to put it off because I do agree that right here, right now, we still need to live in where we're living, and we can't keep pushing it off because there's that too. But yeah, we're seeing some big scary stuff coming to threaten people again.
Yeah. So I see 2027 too. I don't know why, but for some reason in my mind, it's like the next 3 years are going to be dark times. What's interesting though, is you and I don't live in that place. We don't live in the 3D dark agenda timeline because the timelines have shifted. And you recently told me too that you felt quite disconnected. And I think that you're tuning into the collective feeling that everyone's feeling disconnected because there are 2 timelines that have happened. And so some people are carrying on down the 3D and it's going to get really dark and gross. And others have carried on the 5D. And so the disconnect of these 2 worlds pulling apart is what a lot of us are tuning into. And even if we're on a 5D timeline, it doesn't mean your life doesn't still get impacted by the 3D decisions that are taking place. And it doesn't mean it's not hard to watch. And you and I have been awake for a bit, so we're kind of on that plane. We're able to stay in a pretty high frequency most of the time, but maybe people waking up right now and then watching the reality happening, that might be more difficult if they don't actually know who they are and how powerful they are, and to know and trust that they're going to be okay.
Yeah. I've always said too that it's better to know what's going on. It doesn't really count if you have your head in the clouds, you have no idea what's going on, you're skippity doo dog, listening to the yes daddy government and just, everything's, fine and dandy, or it's not, and you're just like, but you're medicating and you're spiraling out of control and you have no hold, no grasp on your consciousness. So I've always said it is good to know what's going on so that you see the full spectrum of what's evil and what's good, and you use your conscious power to decide for yourself what you're giving your conscious attention to. So
100%.
I grappled with that for years, and I was like, are the people that have no idea what's going on, are they better off because they're just, blissfully ignorant? But at the end of the day, the message that kept coming through for humanity was like, no, you need to be awake to see what's all going on, that full spectrum of what the 2 different timelines are, what the nefarious agendas are, where we're headed. And you then consciously choose. And by choosing, or is it like chicken or the egg? Like by you reclaiming your power as a conscious creator and then choosing which one of these timelines you are going to give your attention to, that is you coming online as a light worker. That is you coming online as an energy alchemist, as a new earth creator. And you don't come online the same way if you're just blissfully ignorant, right?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And that is okay. So UN treaty, they're trying to be able to make decisions, future decisions, when there could be possible whatever crap that they're going to throw at us, to be able to make decisions for countries that have bought into it. And then within those countries, Canada is also doing bills that would put more power, that they would seek the guidance of these global unelected bodies. None of us have voted for them. They are just random individuals that have put themselves into this place to make these decisions for people. Yay. Yay them. And yeah. So when your country puts things in place that sound really scary, like having decisions over your life, over your livestock, over your kids, fear is going to happen and you're going to feel trapped. And even though I might be living abroad, this is always a question for me. If I had stayed in Canada, would I still be safe? Would I still be untouchable? And I know that the answer is yes. I don't think our physical location is the deciding factor on if these decisions from these people and groups impact our lives. I back at what you said, I think it's the collective decision you have. So be aware, know that they're doing this, start making decisions in your life that have you pull out of the system. So are you making your own food? Are you starting to homeschool your kids? Or like, what are you doing in your life that is empowering your life so that if decisions came into your community, you would still be able to be a sovereign being? Because at the end of the day, we are sovereign beings. We make these decisions. And so we make them in the physical form, and then we also make them consciously. And so be aware, but you go back into your mind and go, that ain't going to affect me. Like, you truly at the end of the day get to make that decision. And you're like, that will not affect me. And even on, like, sometimes I always picture this spiritual thing, but it means that you have to kind of remember that if you are protected, like if you truly believe how powerful you are and the frequency that you and your family live in, you are untouchable. Mm-hmm. You truly create your own reality. Mm-hmm. You are the one that decides if they show up at your door knocking. They will bypass your home based on the decisions you truly make about your reality. And you match that frequency and you live in that frequency because it is your truth, because you 100% understand you are sovereign and that they cannot touch you. And that is a way that no matter where you physically land, that's how you know that you won't be touched.
That is so true, because the more quantum we're becoming, the more that we reclaim our power, that we're not just a body, that we're not just the monkey mind that they programmed us with. The more that we tune into our higher spiritual faculties and really remember who the fuck we are, that is what's going to create the future. And we recognize that the more quantum we become, the universe has like its own algorithm, its own, like, I don't know about you, but when I tune into meditation, for example, and I have gotten visions of that, I zoom out on this earth high above like the 3D realm, and I'm like, oh look, there's a cute little government that thinks they're in charge, and there's a stupid little sphere and blah blah blah, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, so many more people need to come online and recognize that is like a little dome over top of a petri dish kind of thing. And we are like, hello, like,
it's laughable. What if more and more of us just looked at it and laughed? We're like, that is a joke. Like, I look at the US election right now and I laugh at it because I can't believe how many people buy in to two idiots. I'm watching a performance. I am watching theater. It's the same thing if I tune into Canada's answer period. They're all buying in to their performance. And so if we buy into the performance, they have power. Yeah. If you can come out of it objectively and look at the joke, no one's talking smartly. No one's no one's answering any questions. No, conversations are intellect, smart. The words are not even being used.
A lot of people are seeing that too. I've heard from so many mouths that the word circus and that it's just a joke, and it's like, it's good because it's really showing people just how ridiculous this is. I mean, it's doing it in a way where you don't have to necessarily like talk about the fact, like the deeper conspiracies about the deep fake, where the politicians are literally wearing masks, or like CGI. Yeah. Oh yeah. But Elon Musk like did like a funny thing about that, because remember when he did that, like that deep fake about Kamala, as like a parody. Is it parody campaign, whatever? Yeah. So like in a funny way, they're like releasing the knowledge to people, that people know that you can just like anybody can do this. So they know that the talking heads that they're seeing and that they're listening to might not actually be real. And all of this is like starting to come to light, which is
it's so screwed up. It's so screwed up. And that's
fact is stranger than fiction. It's getting there. And you and I mean, I don't know, like for me with this whole bill in Canada, I do recognize the severity of it and the freakiness of it and all of that. I do also acknowledge what you said, that like when you are plugged into a higher dimension and a higher, timeline and a reality, and you are energetically and vibrationally there, that it will carry you to the next disc, high flying disc just fine. But it's kind of like we knew this was going to happen. So it's like light a match and watch it burn, baby. It's like, come at me. Bring it on. Come at me with your dumb restrictions and your this and your that and your global agendas. Like, bring it on. I was actually going to do a podcast called Who Are You During COVID, because I was a ruthless rebel. Like, if there was ever a time for me to be rebellious and shine, that was it. Like, I had businesses ripping down their business license off walls. I was like, human tribunals, like, no, get your shit away from me. And it was, yeah. So like that, it's almost like, I feel like a lot more people are on that same page. And I feel like we've gained an army of people that are there. And it's like, right?
Well, I think that's what we have to remember. So even since that whole stupid crap that they did, and way to go you, because that wasn't me at the beginning. I was full on asleep and washing my groceries. So I can give hope to anybody that anybody is possible to wake up. We had framed campaign Obama pictures in our house. So like,
I love your
wake up. Anyone can wake up. It's possible. I give hope to people. But what it says, like what they're doing right now, is ever since they've thrown too many things at society. And I'm getting this from so many different people that they're like, I'm like, why is no one taking the bite? Like they tried to do monkeypox. Can I say it? Can I say it out loud? I never know. They don't censor podcasts, right?
I don't know.
I know. So like they tried to make that, like, what was that, 3 weeks ago? They tried to declare it. But so, because they've thrown the woke agenda, they've thrown a whole bunch more viruses. They keep trying to do wars. Like they're trying to get any country to bite. Like they are not stopping. They have done inflation. People are broke, can't afford anything. And it's put, I think, everyone into a state of apathy. And they actually can't care. So they're not even getting people into fear like they were able to before. Fear isn't even possible, which is what they want, is us all in fear. And because people are just like, I'm too tired to care. I can't care. So even when they do these bills and even when they do these treaties and they do all this thing, I still don't think any of it is going to fly. They're going to try, they're going to attempt, but it's not going to happen. And they're going to, what I think is, I'm like, okay, if it comes in and they vote it in cities, they will attempt. And then there will be footage of people that they arrest or do the thing, so that then again, people are like, but it looked, it worked. And then we go into fear. Like, number one job here is that we have a conscious choice. You are in charge of how you decide to react to all the crap they're going to be throwing at us in the next couple of years. And so when you get to a place where like, that looks scary, check in. Just know that you are not going to go down that timeline. That does not affect you, and that this is also their plan. And know that they're not going to get nearly as much buy-in as that they had the first time. It is not happening.
No, because if we look at it for 2030 agenda, it's like, okay, we're in 2024, we're almost 2025, so we're almost halfway through. It's got to take a turn for the better if that timeline is not going to, come to fruition, which I don't believe it will. I don't believe it will.
No. So. I think that's why you and I are also thinking 2027, because their plan is 2030. And right now they're just throwing everything they can at it. Like just anything they can. Because they know, like you've heard of Project Looking Glass, like they know they've lost. Like they've lost. So But again, if they're all masked and they're all in their own little societies doing what they are, and they know they've lost, they're going to give it all they've got till the end. And so we, again, come back and watch the clown show and just watch them self-destruct objectively. Like,
yeah, I notice so memories come up on my Facebook about like how I used to be. And even like I'm just noticing myself becoming a lot like more detached from that self, also like the talking heads. Like, I mean, I used to be like a huge Trump fan, but like now I'm like I'm kind of detached from the whole, sides, because
yeah,
I think there's a lesser of two evils. And I do think that, I would definitely have my vote go one way, but at the same time I'm like, our votes don't matter, like, and it's so much bigger and it's like so much deeper.
The good thing about Trump is he's waking a lot of people up. Like I at least he's waking people up. He's still the best chance at, I believe that he actually does have some good that can come from his leadership. I do believe he's aware. I think galactically, I've heard quite a few stories of who his son is, and
totally,
and he's aware of the Galactic Federation. And I mean, that's a whole other segue, but like, I do believe that he is much more aware than maybe others. But then I also believe he knows the game and he's decided to still play it. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to think of that guy anymore.
Nobody knows, but that's not what the focus should be on anyways. And that's what kind of like led us into the next part of this, is the distractions, is like, they are literally just look here, P. Diddy, Trump, Kamala, what else is this?
Do you think it's actually going to implode? Like, do you think the Diddy thing will actually go somewhere and they'll actually expose Hollywood for what it is?
It might take one or two more triggers for the whole system to come tumbling down. But it is like, it's now on repeat, right? Because people are now associating this with Epstein. Whereas like before that, nobody knew about human trafficking, and now everybody's talking about it. So yeah, I can't wait to see that whole system crumble down. I just watched one of those theories that even Hollywood is like, they all are just like immortals that have kept the whole Hollywood thing going.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I do feel like it's the end of that kind of empire, though. Movies haven't blown up the way they have. And
without Hollywood, it's like, we're all just human beings. There's no, like
special group,
or there's no, like, the consumerism that is now based around Hollywood and celebrities that's grown around that. And like the endorsement, we have like so many celebrities that are endorsing different agendas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just see it as like a mass hypnosis. I mean, just look at all the Swifties.
Yeah, I know.
I could point that out from day one.
That was a hard one. I had to wake up to that one.
Girl,
I struggled with that one for a while.
Did you? Because
it was actually her with Kelsey that actually was the one that made me believe that she was not who I thought she was, because I saw her buy into that performance with him. They weren't together. That did not exist. Who? Her and the football guy.
Oh.
Like they weren't really dating. That was all for him to get what he asked for, and her to get everything she asked for, and that was just for money, I guess, at the end of the day.
100%. And I bought her first album when she was like 17 years old, curly hair, strumming on a guitar. That was it. And then I saw literally the overnight success, and I was like, she sold her soul. I saw definitively it was a huge amount of fame, like seemed overnight, and I was like, she sold her soul. And then ever since then, she's been doing satanic rituals on stage, and I'm like, listen, she's over sensationalizing the youth, and she's worked her way into your hearts only so that she can like sway votes at the end of the day. This is all by design. This is all strategic. She's a strategy implant on, to like be over sensationalized, and it's like, I could see it all from the very beginning, and I was like, wake up, Swifties.
I know. Well, the one thing with Diddy, because I think a lot of people can just put him in the camp, like just put it in a camp, and that you can, with a rapper, you can kind of just put them into camps. People can ignore it, but it has gone mainstream, which is positive. And then the most recent name that they're talking about is Denzel. And I was surprised that they're exploiting Denzel because they've always painted him as such a god and, he's so virtuous and everything. You heard who?
I heard he was one of the good ones. No,
he's been at the Diddy parties.
same with Oprah.
I know.
I don't know if she was at the Diddy parties, but she's another one that they've painted as
exactly. I know. So I just thought, I'm like, if they're willing to sell him, then maybe it will get more traction than we think, and more names will get exposed. I know. He's the Black Tom Hanks.
Stop, really? Yeah, definitely know about him, but I did not know about Denzel.
Okay. No, this is just recent. I've just seen that apparently he's, But again, can you get that big? And this is, again, back to collective consciousness. And me and my husband talked about this, where all these people that sold, what they didn't realize is that they actually could have been as big as they were because you create your own reality. Like when you understand like consciousness and what you're doing, you create your own reality. You could have been that big without selling. But the way the matrix is set up is that they don't allow you to get that big without going through them. And that is what's crumbling.
I was going to say that. Yeah. I think in the future, we definitely have that ability. And when we're there, like when we are, not you and I, but like people in general, you and I, yeah, for sure. We could be, right? We could also be like that and grow organically and authentically. And when we are on the other side of whatever the building or, we're always going to be creating and building. So I don't really believe in that. But when we are able to really like live a life on that big scale, it's going to be full of fulfillment and satisfaction and connection and thriving. And, like the wealth is going to look so much different. It's not going to be paralleled and combined with like emptiness and abuse and satanic.
Yes, and greed.
And and horrific circumstances. Like these people aren't free. I've often said that I would hate to be famous. There's no part of me that would ever want to do the Hollywood thing or be that or be any semblance of that. If I think about, first of all, I would never want to be famous. And then second of all, if I think about wealth, the way that my life would look wealthy would have like nothing to do with the look that they portray. It just wouldn't. Because it's not wholesome. And it's like, so when I think about the way that wealth looks for a new earth creator, such as myself, I'm thinking about, like collaborating and doing good things for humanity and cleaning up the oceans, the food system, using the wealth to raise a consciousness of the entire earth. Like it has a completely different energy to it.
Yeah. Oh, I see that too, but I see that we're going to need leaders to show what wealth can look like from a point of a high vibration. And what if wealth was in the hands of actual pure-hearted souls? What would that really look like? And I think, because also a lot of people in the spiritual community thinks that money is still, like, they still believe it to be evil and bad and greed and everything. And you're like, no, money can be used for so much good. So much good. And I do feel like we need to show the way of what abundance can look like.
Yeah.
And like, because even for me, I am a wealthy woman. That is my reality. And I still, though, plan to stay in clothes that are cotton and breathable. Like, I will not look like the way that society says this is what rich is.
Yeah. And no, I know. I was taking my dog out for a walk the other day, like in like a baggy sweatpants and like a, boyfriend sweater. And I was like, I'm not just all of a sudden going to be wearing like a freaking ball gown to take my dog out for a walk, just because it is who you are.
High frequency fabrics. That's what
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I am thankful that I have had a few individuals now, like Christian Helper and his wife actually massively, massively restored my faith in humanity. For those of you that don't know, probably nobody knows that that is the financial backer of the Healy company. And listening to him and his wife talk about the future of humanity, the vision for the new earth, and how they're wanting to help people and what they do, like that is, and they're billionaires, right? So wealthy and such good people.
Yeah, and down to earth.
And down to
and relatable.
Yes, relatable.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just beautiful. And so I've been happy to and grateful to have some markers and some examples of that in my life, including yourself, that people are so grounded and humble and it doesn't change who they are. It's nothing like what they portray. And I think they do that strategically to continue to root into people that, oh, see, you know, when you have money, that this is what happens and it's all evil. Yeah, but it is shifting. It's like it's the people in power. I think we're going to see a huge. Everybody's talking about the wealth transfer happening to the corporations, but no.
No, because that's not where we're going.
No, we're
honestly, it is going. Money is going to people with heart and soul because that is the new earth. That is where we're going. It's not like everyone has to get out of the framework of what we have been led to believe. We're at the end of a 26,000 year cycle.
Yes.
I get that it's ingrained in us and it's hard and it's generational crap that we are having to expel. We need to like be using our imaginations. We need to be thinking differently. And so, like it kind of comes back, like, I feel like, so a lot of souls are still waking up. And so you and I already have a vision for the future and where we're going. But a lot of people are still in that right now and still trying to figure out who they are. Because I do think that that is why we're here on earth, is to enjoy this ride of life and then find out our purpose for where we're going. And I think sometimes the light workers and the star seeds and these deep connected souls, it's not easy. And as you said earlier, when we were talking about being asleep, like, yeah, there's days where that would be nice. Like, not gonna lie, that would be nice to just not know everything we know. Like the fact that I know that every thought is my own and that it creates what I'm doing at all times can be freaking exhausting.
It's a busy.
And it totally. And so that's our minds are constantly going, I'm aware of this thought, I'm aware of this thought, I'm aware of that. I did this. Oh my goodness, this just happened. I manifested that. When did I do that? When, like, it is constant. And so how do I think that something we have to be really conscious of as we do this is giving ourselves grace and love as a light worker, as we alchemize this dark world that we just kind of even were referencing and alchemize it into the light. And how do we go easy on ourselves while we do that?
When you were talking about just like the amount of different things that light workers are thinking about, I have a theory, and I've been dropping the term ADHD on my social media quite a bit just to stir the pot a little bit. But it's like what's coming, you know, the afterwave that's coming, what I'm getting at eventually with everybody is that I have my own idea of what ADHD is. And the more people, the more conscious, spiritually attuned people that I talk to also believe this as well. And somebody the other day commented on one of my posts and said, I have always, and this download came to her years ago. She says, I've always thought of ADHD, attention dialed into higher dimensions. Right? Or I say I say attuned to higher dimensions, kind of like that, right? Like it is a lot. We're channeling different streams of consciousness at one time. And that's part of the shift that's happening with humans coming online, is that they are becoming more telepathic. They're becoming more psychic, which means that they have access to more. ADHD people often want to take in more information than what their bodies can kind of handle, what they can put out. And that comes through with wanting to listen to a podcast, watch a movie, and listen to something online all at the same time. And there's this frustration that I can't do that. Or it's like you've got tons and millions of ideas coming in for content that you want to share with people and messages that you want to get out. But it's like you bust out one reel for every like 50 ideas that you think of. And it's like, feels like this bottleneck. And then I'm just like, so many that I talk to are writing like random scattered ideas down on pieces of paper. It just looks like a mad professor's like desk. And people are wondering,
welcome to my brain.
Yeah. And so many people that I talk to wonder, is this for something? Am I just going crazy? Is this all in vain? Why is there this higher vocation that, what these ideas that are coming in? And my belief is that that we are in the human collective where we are right now. Maybe you can chalk that up to the 2030 full plan of completion, but where we are right now is like a lot of light workers are getting ideas coming down and they want to so badly see the finished product of it. But right now it just feels like scattered ideas. It just feels like, these random messages and stuff that are coming through that just are not making sense. But I feel like that's just where we are right now, and they will make sense. And when it comes time to create the new earth, we are going to be the trailblazers for creating the new systems and structures, but they're just coming in as these like filaments and nothing's really making sense right now, which kind of circles back to like the hopscotching between the two realities, right?
I really like that theory, actually. I really like,
because I've asked my spirit guides about it, and like the one thing that they say is, and the one thing that I know is that meditation can really help you take all of the scattered, stuff that just seems so here, there, everywhere, and help you to just trust in the universe more and trust that things are aligning, and you just follow the universal synchronicities, like you just follow the breadcrumbs. So that's,
I think you're probably describing so many people though, because you're describing me, and I haven't even officially diagnosed myself as ADHD, but I know a lot of people lately, like it's in a lot of people I know. And it's giving me thought that, is it a way of, I've always kind of wondered too, how do the light workers find each other? How do the people with the souls on this soul mission for this planet find each other? Like, would this maybe be something of how we can all find each other? You and I have talked about that. Like, what is it that allows us to find one another? And I think what we've got to kind of help each other with, though, is that it's exhausting to have a brain that works this way, though. And because in the current world, it tells us we're nuts in a way, right? But the leaders of the new earth are going to be nuts. And because we're only going to get there by being nuts. We have to be logical. We have to be different than we've been before. We can't get there with our logical brain. We have to be logical. We have to be weird. We have to be crazy. So maybe it's a compliment, again, so even right now, changing the definition of feeling crazy when we get so many ideas and so many thoughts and so many downloads. Like, it's constant, right? Like, you and I have talked about this. It is nonstop downloads, and I am writing them all the time, and they're in my journal, and they're in the notes on my phone, and sometimes it gets out onto social media, but most of the time it doesn't. And I always wonder, what are all these for? And where is this supposed to go? And who's supposed to hear this? And who's supposed to know? And you're right. Maybe we just have to trust that it will eventually start to make sense, and that it will take us where we need to go. But in the interim, I think in isolation, we probably all feel like we've lost our minds a bit, but maybe that's actually a positive.
I think it is a positive, because if I look back at the last 4 years, I've been writing in my notebooks ever since ever since 2018. I burned all my diaries. There's a whole story behind that. But then I started doing these notebooks, and instead of Dear Diary, it was more of a notebook where I either journaled, achievements, goals, all of that. But I also started to write my downloads down and things that I wanted to do and all these little bits and pieces. And so much of that has started to come together more and more. Because I can look back and see like where I was with all these random ideas. And then I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, now I've made a course about a lot of these things. And the things that I thought were like, this is the number one thing that's going to blow me up. It's like, now I'm just kind of saying it in passing. And it's just like, part of, just a tiny part of the whole big picture. And so I do think it's totally going to come to fruition for a bigger picture. Yeah. The other thing that I was going to say too is that with all of the systems and structures and everything that are crumbling, and I'm going to use business as an example, because I see a lot of people that, well, they come to me for shamanic healing sessions, but more so for like spiritual counseling and psychic channeling, because they are at the pinnacle of their success. They have maxed that out, checked all the boxes that this is what it should feel like, and they don't have the fulfillment and the satisfaction of feeling the way that they feel like they should. And so they've kind of hit this ceiling, but these are already like go-getters. They're already like self-motivated individuals, but they're like feeling this cap as well of now what? And it's like, okay, well, you built your entire empire, and not just your individual empire, but a lot of these systems have been created out of from the monkey mind that is only as good as our human conditioning. And nobody has yet to transcend that monkey mind. And we're just starting to. We're just starting to get beyond that and above that, which then enters us into the quantum realm of unlimited possibilities. And the physics isn't the same up there. We can't do 5D physics in 3D timeline. It doesn't work, because in 5D physics, you can bend.
Yes.
And everything is in the now. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, where he transcends the analytical monkey mind that is only as good as the human conditioning and starts to play in physics that don't make sense in this reality. So you do, what you were saying about becoming Delulu and being crazy is the pathway for the new earth. You do have to rise above and through it and beyond everything that has always been.
Well, I think that's actually who we are, right? We are that powerful. And so, but they came down, and we all came down into this 3D matrix. And so they had to tell you that if you had imagination, if you had ideas, if you thought crazy thoughts, you're crazy. And that you would go to a psych ward. There had to be a narrative to put those people away. Because, that makes sense. They didn't want us to wake up to who we truly were, but they're actually the people that knew. And so now when people say crazy ideas, or you and I have a conversation like we're having right now, where it could sound insane, this is the future. Because again, how many times do I have to say, does it look like what we're seeing out there in the world is working? Does it look like anybody's happy? Does it look like that makes sense? Does it make sense that we're putting people on pedestals? Even last night, we went on this huge rant. Does it make sense that the people we put on pedestals that are harming children are not actually killed? They're not taken to the gallows and their necks aren't cut? What? Sorry, we're actually still having this conversation in today's world, that this is tolerated and accepted, and we'll just have conversations like this is okay. This should be. And that's how backwards and inverse our world is, people. Yeah. It's normalized the destruction and the hate and the the disgusting of what a human is capable of has turned into the norm. And we've all tolerated it and excused it and then even tiptoed around it. It's so pathetic. And we need to get so much braver to say that is crazy. That is wrong. And if I'm going to talk about living in a life of love and peace and kindness and giving, we need to normalize that. But everyone just goes, well, you're just crazy and you're in woo-woo land. And I'm like, no, but we are the creators of our own reality. I've created it. I've done it. I've been there. I've gone there. And I also wonder too, if like, this occurred to me the other night, like, when you are sitting there and you're having a moment and all of a sudden you go back to a memory and you go back to it and you feel it, like you are there, feeling, touch, smell, all of the senses come back and you're there. Same with a deja vu. Going forward, you go forward to a deja vu of something that's happened in your future and you feel it and you touch it and you've been there. What if those moments are actually all present moments? And the only way that we go back to a memory or we go forward to a deja vu is because they're portals. Like each one has been a present moment. Because throughout the day, we're not always present, right? We're just going throughout the day and we're not always present. So the only ones we actually go back to and relive or feel is because it was in the present. And I think the key for all of this and creating the reality we want to go to is about presence. But again, the matrix doesn't allow you to be present. That's why there's distractions. That's why they do all the things, because they are always trying to keep you out of how you are currently feeling in this present moment right now.
100%. There's two things, like what you were basically summarizing the amount of gaslighting that's going on here. And if I hadn't been like in my microcosm compared to the macrocosm of the whole global agenda that's happening right now, if I hadn't experienced insane amount of gaslighting in a narcissistic relationship, I don't know I would recognize it the same way that I see the government and doing it with the gaslighting that's happening on such a level where they're telling people, like, where they're, it starts with conspiracy theorists, and then people that are creating the new earth are even, more insane. But it's a level of gaslighting that's happening to make people that are wanting to do that to think that they're crazy. And I love that those boundaries are starting to break down, which is nice. But yeah, it's just one big gaslighting that's happening right now to make us think that we're not actually as powerful as we are, to make us think that, we're nuts for believing something other than the government narrative, that we're insane for putting our poker chips into a reality that has yet not manifested, and here we are creating all this stuff for it, but
that's the thing, everything in the reality right now, because I even think they know this too. Everything that we currently see in our world was created by somebody first in their mind.
Yeah,
that is how it works. So why can't we think illogical and crazy enough to think of the opposite of the world we want to see right now?
I think that's exactly what Albert Einstein was talking about when he said you can't solve a problem at the same level that it was created at. And I've thought about that for years. And it's like, okay, well, it does require you to enter a state of delusion for something that is not yet.
Yeah.
And it's always going to look delulu and crazy to those that, can't see it yet. I think the number one way to not only be present, reclaim your power, and also create the quantum reality, and tune into, like, it's not just coming from your own brain. It is, in a sense, of what you want to see when you look at the world and you see things that you don't like. What do you want to see for the future of humanity? And believing that you actually have, that your thoughts matter, that what you see in that quantum reality is your contribution to the collective reality that is going to be created. But then also I saw a really interesting thing happen during 2020 when a lot of people during COVID went into like hermit mode and were not talking, because you mentioned prior to this, that a lot of people who are in hermit mode feel like they're going crazy. But we saw a lot of people go into hermit mode during COVID, and then a lot of people came out of sort of a spiritual awakening with very, very similar idea, a very similar story. And it's like, so many people were like, I don't talk to anybody about this kind of stuff, but like, for whatever reason, I am like getting all these downloads, and like, you can't stop what's happening. But the interesting part about it is that people were in isolation when this happened. So what were they tuning into to get the same message across the board?
Yes, like tapping in.
Energy tapping into their own higher self, becoming more spiritually attuned, like tapping into their chakras, their vivid imagination, their third eye, reclaiming their power. Like all of this comes into sort of like a vision of like alignment, regulation, truth, and connected to like a higher consciousness that is downloading this information to create this like this army of light work.
It's so beautiful in a way, right? Like it's so beautiful. And the thing that sucks is that most of them are alone and in isolation. But I think the next phase we're all going into is we're going to find each other. Because think about too, we know how powerful we are as individuals. So what the fuck happens when we all start deciding together and we all decide what does that look like? What do we want to see? And then that grows. It goes the same way to why the agendas that they're pulling in the current world have not been taking bait, because not enough of the collective bought in. COVID happened because enough of us bought in. That's how it works. They know this too. That is collective consciousness. They also know that is how you get buy-in. So if we don't take the bait, their plan doesn't work, which means we have to but they're the ones already in all the governing bodies. So they have more strategy of collecting everybody. We now need to assemble. We now need to find each other so that we can collectively get together and be intentional with all of this stuff and all these ideas and all of these channels and downloads and everything that we've got, so we can really get serious about what we want to see.
Yeah. It's an incredible amount of work that we have ahead of us to just, continue.
I know. Again, being asleep could be a lot easier.
Yeah. Seriously.
Right?
But not in the long run.
Well, we also know I finally had a shift where I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, judge me all you want. I don't really care. I'm just going to keep spreading my messages. And if it is for one person or if it is for more, then so be it. And
there's thousands, millions of people that are coming online now with all of this,
Yeah. We're all finding each other. We really are.
Yeah.
And it's also through love, like it's also through energy, right? It's just energetics, and we're all just finding each other as we get onto different vibrations.
Yeah.
Frequency bands.
And hopefully the stuff that we talk about on the podcast is helping people to be like, wow, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Not going crazy.
No. And embrace it. Embrace the crazy. Because I want to hear all the crazy ideas that everyone has. I want to see. I'm only in touch with my own, and yours and a few others. So it's like, what else do we got out there? Let's go nuts here.
Yeah, I agree.
We got like a blank slate. Watch them crumble. Earth is crumbling down to the ground. Let's build it up the way we want. Yeah,
I was just having a conversation with one of my clients about this, and I was like, so she hates her job, and I was like, so what would you want to do? What would you want to get paid for? And she's like, honestly, I would like to create schools where people with disabilities and learning disabilities and that they're not made fun of, and they're treated as though they're like a part of society, and then like even mental illnesses and that are treated and highlighted properly. Like, people that have a diagnosis, they're often in other cultures that they actually make brilliant shamans or brilliant healers. But that's again talking outside of the box. But she's like, if we start to learn to work together with those people from birth, or like they're not gonna have that. There's gonna.
I love that.
And I
love that. Love it.
That is a beautiful vision. And I said,
right?
Hold on to that frequency, because you see all systems.
We need that though. If that's what lights her up, that's not my mission, but if that's her mission, and more of us keep finding what our mission and purposes are, like, how beautiful. And then we're living in a world where everyone's accepted for who they are. And then we all get to get recognized in our own authentic expression as that is like, it would be abnormal to not be authentic. Like if you're kind of fake, you're shunned for being fake. Like that actually is weird. You're like, sorry, we don't tolerate that here. We can tell that you've got a mask and you're not really owning who you are. And we'd really like to see who you are. I really want to know who you are. I think it's probably why I've done that most of my life. And people are like, I can't hang around with Celeste. She sees right through me.
100%. Yeah, 100%. People have always said that about me as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to come from a place of like shunning them. I think it's going to come from a very like a gracious space where it's like, hey, like, why are you hiding? Like, it's okay to share what you've got on your mind. It's okay to share your abilities and your gifts and come online with them. I think that's going to be a huge part of healing the new earth.
Yep, I think so too. And I think it's going to be a beautiful place to live, because also there won't be mental health, because if you're in your own authentic expression and you're accepted for who you are, I don't think you sit in a place of disconnect from yourself. I think mental health is because you're disconnected from yourself and who you are, trying to fit into a mold that doesn't make sense. And the world told you you're supposed to be a certain way.
And there will be healing for all the trauma that
exactly
is the inauthenticity, because that's going to be a huge part of it. Is like anybody that has these issues or whatever, is like a lot of it is trauma. Many.
But we are all capable. You and I have gone through our own. We are all capable of transmuting it and getting through it. I know that I avoided a lot of it for a long time, but we've looked at it head on and we've come out the other end, and it's worth it. And we're not special by that. Everyone is capable of getting through their trauma.
Yeah. And I talk to a lot of people that just want to come online, and I'm like, come online with your gift, whatever it is. You see, if somebody can be selling this, that, and the other thing online, or making a living doing that, what they love, you can too. So don't be afraid to come online and get weird and show yourself and be part of the New Earth mission, because it is a weird existence, but it is necessary. We need you online.
And that's the thing. It's not all even spiritual. We still need the authentic person that knows how to fix my toilet. Yeah. But they also are someone that like, guess what? I only like to work 3 days a week. Like, kudos for you for knowing that. Yeah. Like way to go. But you know what I mean? Like, we can all contribute in whatever it is, but it's knowing who we are so that we're not taking ourselves out onto other people. We're not hurting anymore. We're not hurting others anymore. We're all feeling safe and loved and seen.
Yeah. Well, girl, we could talk about the New Earth for hours yet. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say to the Lightworkers out there right now?
It's not easy. I recognize it's not easy. And you've got to give yourself grace each day, I think. And just be patient with yourself and know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, even though sometimes it's really hard. And it's also really hard sometimes when you live in an unknown space. I've been really struggling with that, sitting in this unknown place of when things haven't materialized yet. But I think I also know how this all works. And so I know it's already mine. Everything you want is already yours.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of Lightworkers are feeling right now, in sort of this weird hopscotch between the two realities. Just know that it's normal. Know that it's all part of what's happening right now. And hopefully we shed some light on sort of what's kind of spiritually happening behind the scenes to make you not feel so alone, to make you not feel so crazy or insane if that's what you feel like. And Celeste is a very gifted individual who actually helps people figure out what their gifts are, what their spiritual gifts are. She just has a way of looking at somebody and knowing exactly what their gifts are and how to use it. It's amazing. She gives me so much clarity all the time. So reach out to either one of us if you want to chit chat. If this resonated with you guys, give Celeste a follow on Instagram. It's Celeste Pennington 2. Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
And then mine is Kiki Sita. So give us both a follow, like this podcast, rate it, do all the things, and show us some love so that our channel can grow. Thank you so much for being here.